Jay from the Kubz guys. Welcome back to another episode of watching scary animations with you guys. We actually have a lot to go through in today's episode, so no more talking from me. We're just gonna jump right into it right now. If you guys cool with that and you're down with that, everybody get ready and buckle up, because here we go! First animation comes from the channel Stephen D. I will leave the link to their channel in the description box below, but the title is called A Cute Girl at the Bar Brought Me to Her House, but Something Strange Happened. Oh boy.
Kevin had just turned 21, so he and his friend decided to go to a bar one night and was approached by a cute girl named Candace.
Cute girl? That's a stretch.
He didn't know she was just trying to get free drinks by flirting, so he told her that they didn't have much money. However, Candace was the one who offered, and she kept buying more and more. Kevin started getting confused as to who she liked more between him and David and why she was being so generous. A little later, they both carried David out the bar. She kept telling him to go home with her, but he was so out of it he could barely answer. Kevin told her that he couldn't let him go anywhere as he didn't want David to wake up in a random house without a car and not remembering what happened. Candace kept pushing it, saying that she would take care of him, but Kevin told her that the only way David was going anywhere was if he tagged along. Immediately, she started flirting with Kevin and offered to get his friend a taxi and said they could drive to her place alone.
I think Kevin wanted that threesome. That's why he was pushing it so hard.
At this point, Kevin had a few drinks and was pretty buzzed, so he agreed. They got David a taxi to go home, and the two walked to Candace's car.
Oh, never mind. I thought all three of them were going to go together.
He started feeling uneasy. They got in the car and she drove the street when she asked if he wanted to stop at the store and get some more to drink. Kevin wanted to be able to carry himself throughout the rest of the night, so he declined. He did find Candace attractive and he didn't want to seem lame, so he told her to get a pint with some apple juice to chase it. She went in the store and came out with a lot more than just a pint. Kevin assumed that she wanted to drink as well, but throughout the car ride, Candace kept telling him to drink more and more. He somehow managed to drink all the juice, so he pretended to drink the
juice is loose, everybody. The liquor in the this man's gonna get freaky.
He then tossed the apple juice out the window before she could see it and just drank a little more from the remaining bottle. Kevin was able to make her believe he was actually drunk, but in reality, he was simply buzzed. They drove up to her house and he pretended to trip and stumble, so she helped him walk inside. The front door was unlocked, but she made sure it was locked when they got in. Kevin thought that was strange, but he didn't think too much of it, so he told her that he had to use the bathroom. He walked inside and looked at himself in the mirror.
And he was like, damn, I'm ugly!
He just felt strange. There was definitely something off. He turned on the sink to make noise and made himself puke up the liquor he drank. Kevin flushed and went to the sink and started drinking the tap water to sober up. He just didn't want to be drunk, but still wanted to hook up with Candace. Kevin turned the sink off when he suddenly heard her talking to someone outside. He's drunk as hell. He could barely stand up. You do it. Who was she talking to? And do what? Kevin walked out the bathroom, and the moment he stepped into the living room, he saw Candace walking into another room. That strange, very bright red hair. He didn't see her face or anything. Hey, where you going? She walked back into the dark living room and up to Kevin and said, let's go in my room. He looked at her bright red hair and into her eyes. They were different. Her face was different. It was another girl with the same hair. And that's when Kevin realized it was another girl with the same wig on. It was a wig the entire time.
What the fuck? His heart
felt like it stopped. But he tried to look like he had no idea it was a different girl. Kevin kind of smiled and told her that he just needed to use the bathroom one more time and told her he was sorry he was so drunk. She said, it's fine, just hurry up in there.
Yeah, I just gotta wash my stank balls before we get down to business.
He heard her whispering something to someone again, this time thinking that he heard a male voice whisper back. Something sketchy was going on and he had to get out of the house. Kevin opened the bathroom window and jumped straight out of it and ran faster than he ever had in his life.
Oh, hell yeah.
Now looking back, he kept running down the main road until he saw a CVS and stood straight at the front of the store in front of the camera. Kevin then called a taxi and went home. He tried thinking about what happened that night. She kept buying him and his friend drinks and even paid for David's friend's taxi cab. And most of all, why did she wear a wig that she gave to another girl to wear? Who was she talking to? And what was in that room that they tried to lure him into?
Alright guys, wait, the next day, Kevin went back to the house with a couple friends. No one was there, no cars were there. He ended up finding out that it was a summer rental. Whoever those people were in that house broke into it for the night and never came back. I feel like they were just trying to have a good time. Like, watch him go back to that room and, like, candles were lit, you know, some Marvin Gaye was playing, a few rubbers, maybe a dildy in the back. Who knows? It could have been a wild night, but he jumped out the window, so you never would have known. This next animation comes from my guy Mort. Link to his channel will be in the description box below. This video is called True Halloween Animated Horror Story. This better be good, or else
It was my first Halloween living in my own house away from my parents. I live in a small corner house with a basement but no upstairs, a house my parents paid half for.
Loser.
It was 11 o'clock at night. I was sitting in the living room watching scary Halloween movies when I found myself getting up to answer a knock at the door.
Trick or
Then I stopped and
treat.
thought, who could be at the door at 11 p.m.? Surely there were no more trick-or-treaters out. I had a pretty good feeling it was a late-night Halloween ding-dong ditcher, so I gave it a second.
Oh, I thought he had
then
a
I shot
gun in
glance
his
to the
hand.
porch through
Like,
the window.
shh.
They were
Trick
gone
or
already.
treat, you filthy animals.
Yup, ding-dong ditchers. I sat back down, not thinking twice about it, and again, knocking at the front door.
This guy fidgeting is making me
Get
fidget. Like,
lost, I yelled. I was not in the mood for punky kids. They ignored my demands and started pounding now, not just knocking.
all right, I'm getting the
I was pissed
shotgun.
now. I leaped up and swung the door open. No one was there once again. I slipped on my shoes and headed outside to begin searching the bushes for the kids.
Now, why would you do that? Every horror movie, you never want to go outside with a flashlight after something scary like that happens. But your dumbass, with the weirdest shit stain on your forehead, decides to go out and investigate. You are gonna die, my guy.
But there was nobody in sight. Not in the bushes, not behind my car, not across the street.
Not up your ass.
I was done answering. I didn't want to feed into their fun anymore, so I went back inside, double-locked the door, and went to my bedroom, also locking that door, just to feel safer, I guess.
You sitting like that, you deserve to die.
Even over the TV, I could still hear the stupid kids pounding on my front door repeatedly. I was so close to calling the cops to get them away, but that would undoubtedly lead to my house being egged or teepeed. The pounding continued for an uncomfortably long time, more than half an hour. I thought these kids must be filming something for YouTube and were desperate for a reaction, but I wasn't going to give it to them. At some point, I dozed off
This
with the
dude's
TV
way too
on,
paranoid.
only to wake up to the knocking again. I looked at the clock. It was 2 in the fucking morning.
Holy crap.
How could those kids still be at it, I thought. I turned the TV off and sat up with my ears open. For a few moments, my heart completely stopped as I realized the knocking was not at my front door, but rather at my bedroom door.
Whoa.
I jumped out of bed, looking around my room like a madman for something to use as a weapon. They knew I was awake now. They were trying the doorknob, trying to bust down the door. These weren't any kids. By some miracle, I came up with an idea.
What?
It was a long shot, but it was all I could think of. I turned on the receiver to my speaker system, plugged in my iPhone, brought up the YouTube app, typed in 45 gunshot sound effect, turned on the volume, and pressed play. The sound of a gunshot echoed out of the speakers.
That's actually so
It sounded
smart.
real enough. I paused the video after the first shot and yelled, "That was a warning shot. Leave now or I won't hesitate to shoot you in the head."
Yeah, type in like shotgun shot sound effect or bazooka sound effect. Oh man, that would get their dick shriveled up.
And it worked. I heard 2 pairs of footsteps stomping over my wood floors and out the front door. I gave it a moment before opening my bedroom door and peeking outside. They were gone, but the front door was left wide open. I quickly shut it, called the police, and that's where my story ended.
Aw, man. I mean, not to be a sick and twisted animal that I am, but I was kind of hoping that it would be a little more crazy than that. Like, he opened it and then he just saw like the most hideous beast with like 3 legs and 8 arms and 8 dicks, and I don't even know. Like, I wanted something. I wanted something nice and juicy, like a rack of ribs that I could just go... You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you're just craving something. You just want it so bad inside your system, inside your veins. But this didn't give it to me. You know, it almost gave it to me. Like, it almost handed it off to me, but it didn't quite give it to me. You know what I mean? Like, do you guys know what I mean? I need it! This next video comes from Llama Arts, and I will leave the link to their channel in the description box below. This video is called Trick or Treat Stories Animated, so let's get spooky.
It was Halloween night of 2007, freshman year in high school. and I was with my friends.
Oh, it's
Ivan,
Mario
Ryan,
and Luigi.
Jesse.
Want to give you my
We
tortellini
were
on
all
a plate of
dressed as the Super
linguine.
Mario characters. I was Luigi since I was the second tallest. Ivan was Mario since he's short and buff. Not that Mario was buff.
He's
Jesse
kind of
was
buff.
Waluigi because he's freakishly tall and skinny, and Ryan was Wario because he's just really fat.
And
so
he's
they
a
were
bitch.
the perfect group costumes for us. We live in a very non-congested suburban neighborhood with a decent amount of space in between houses. On Halloween, that's the worst thing ever. Less bang for your buck. We were trick-or-treating for hours, way past dark, and eventually came the time when most trick-or-treaters were heading home. My feet started to hurt, and I had to constantly switch arms for holding the now 10-pound pillow sack of candy. But we planned on going until our bags were completely full.
Okay, so this guy is not only dressed as Luigi, but he's also complaining about carrying a 10-pound bag of candy. This bitch should have been Wario.
A lot of the houses by now weren't answering anymore. It was probably past their cutoff time for giving candy to trick-or-treaters.
Suckers.
Approaching our next house, we saw a purple bucket on the stoop, which was the best feeling ever. I was the one to get close enough to realize it was empty, which was the worst feeling
It's a bucket
ever.
full of nothing.
I
I'm
turned
so
around when I heard a
stupid.
knock at the window of the house.
Hey,
We
get
all
the
looked
fuck
at the
on my
window.
property, I'll kill you.
Didn't see anyone, but heard someone call out, "Wait."
I got the good stuff in here.
The door opened, and
Why
an
don't you come
older
over here,
man,
fuck boys?
late 40s, already balding, stepped outside. He told us to come inside so he can get us some more candy. I said we could just wait out here. He responded saying something along the lines of, "Nonsense, come on in, we'll get you your candy."
Yeah, come on in. You know, I'll shut the door, put the chain on, and tickle all of your buttholes. No problem.
Ivan stepped in and said, "It's alright. Come on, Dan, let's go."
Oh, he thinks because he's
I
Mario,
told the
he
guy
has to be the
take
leader
care
of the
and
group.
Apologized. He just stood there watching as we walked off, not saying anything. I felt bad, but at the same time, that guy seemed like a creeper.
Oh,
and
he
I
looked
figured
like a
I just
creeper.
dodged a bullet not going in there.
Probably smelled like one, too.
If the story ended there, it wouldn't be scary. So of course, it didn't end there.
Good. Because that
We
shit was
skipped
not
a few of
scary.
the guy's neighboring houses just to get further away and continued on with our business. We were walking down close to the nature preserve now, so there weren't many houses around us.
What the hell is a nature
At this
preserve?
point, we were now walking back closer to
Where do you
Jesse's
guys live?
house.
In the jungle?
I noticed Ryan had stopped walking, and I turned around to see what's up. He said he heard someone moving from behind the trees in the preserve. Now, this was before everyone's phones had flashlights, so we couldn't just go searching in the woods for someone. Besides, we were just telling Ryan that it must have been a raccoon or something. You may think this is a bit of a cliche, but when things like this happen in real life, you always assume the more logical possibility. It's
Yeah.
just natural. Why would we assume we were being followed? I had to put my arm around Ryan's shoulder and nudge him forward. A little ways down the street, me and Ivan picked up on the sound as well. When we all stopped, the sounds of the footsteps from beyond the trees stopped as well. Ivan yelled at the obvious stalker to go away, or we would beat the shit out of them. I knew he was just bluffing, though.
He said, I knew he was just bluffing, though. Like, he knows these guys are four sad, pathetic losers. Like, that sucks.
I could hear the nervousness in his voice. The snap of a twig from beyond the trees triggered a fight-or-flight response in all of us. Me, Jesse, and Ryan all ran for it. Ivan was at first charging to attack, but he quickly followed after realizing we had all taken off.
Oh,
We
I
ran down
didn't
the
realize
dark
my friends
street,
were
and
giant
we all noticed the
pussies.
sounds of at least 2 or 3 pairs of footsteps crushing the twigs and leaves in the woods. We banked it hard right down Jesse Street when it finally came up and ran straight for his backyard, entering his house through the back door. The first thing we did was peek out through his living room window. We couldn't see anyone. We all had to gather our thoughts and discuss what the hell just went down in his living room, when all of a sudden we heard Jesse's backyard gate slam shut. Jesse dove to turn off the lights. There was a click and a bang from down in the den. It was more than likely Jesse's back door. We all agreed to go down armed with knives and face them.
Yeah.
Jesse turned on his back door light,
Oh, yeah.
but there was
This
nobody
is getting
out
me
there.
hot right now, yeah.
Just then the front door opened, and we all screamed like animals. Jesse's mom and sisters came rushing downstairs. They had just gotten home from their friend's little house party. We all rested assured knowing it was just them.
Wait,
Jesse explained what happened.
Who came in
but
the front
made
door?
It seem a lot less dramatic. Me and Ivan went home after that and called it a night. At 12:30 a.m., I got a disturbing text message. It was from Jesse.
uh-oh.
It said, "It wasn't my mom." I texted back saying, "What?" He responded back quickly, saying, "It wasn't my mom in the backyard."
Oh!
My fingers slammed the buttons on my phone, responding back, "What do you mean?" There was a long pause before he finally told me that his mom and sisters said they never went in the backyard.
Yikes.
I told him to immediately check the backyard from his upper deck. He had already done just that. He also told his mom everything, and she had already called the police. They didn't find anyone back there, but Jesse did mention the guy who invited us in while trick-or-treating. Nothing ever became of that, and nothing ever happened at Jesse's house again after that one Halloween night.
Man, I feel like just with a lot of kids' overactive imaginations, nothing happened there. Like, they heard a bunch of sounds in the background, and they were like, oh my god, it must be that creepy half-balding 40-year-old guy. But it was just like their own imagination. It was just nature doing its thing, making noises, and they all started acting like little bitches. This next video comes from a YouTuber named Your Weirdo MJ. The title of the video is called Disturbing Skype Call Horror Story Animated. I've never heard of a scary Skype call. Hopefully this is gonna be the scariest shit that I've seen all day. So let's go.
It's 5 a.m. I'm about to pass out and my eyes are gradually getting heavier. But the sight of my girlfriend's face on Skype keeps me fighting to stay awake.
That face?
We have been
Nah.
Skyping every night for the past 3 months. Long distance is a bitch, but I love her.
It is.
And I can't wait to hold her in my arms again. My eyes collapse for a mere moment. Babe, you're tired. Get some sleep.
Wow, that's convincing.
I spring up. No, it's all good. I'm going to go make some coffee. I'll be right back. I left my screen illuminating in the dark room. I make my way down the stairs into my kitchen, where the kettle naturally belongs. I make my coffee and head back to the computer. I was greeted by the warm smile that I grew fond of. Welcome back, you macho man. My pet name. Hey, sexy, I replied.
Jeez, these two people have the personality of two dead bodies.
We always have this moment where we stare blankly at each other, like any normal couple would do. It was another sleepless, perfect night. That is, until my phone went off. As I make my way to reach my phone, I thought to myself, I wonder who it could be calling me at this hour. Could it be just my friend calling, wanting to chat? Do they need a place to crash? Or could it just be a wrong number? I looked at my phone. I froze. It was my girlfriend.
Baby. No,
I
baby.
quickly shifted my eyes
It's
back
my
to the
baby.
computer monitor to see if she was playing a trick on me. But she just sat there, hands folded on her desk with that familiar grin. Maybe she butt dialed me or something, I thought. I answered. I heard an eerily, all too familiar voice on the other side. Hey babe, I'm sorry. I know it's really late. I just got home from Morgan's party. Are you awake? My body became solid with fear. My eyes shifted upward to my horror to see my girlfriend staring back at me.
What?
Who are you? I yelped
Who
in
the
terror.
fuck are you, mate?
What do you mean, sweetie? Her eyes became black.
What?
As her
No!
voice became deeper.
Stop that!
It's me.
Cut it out!
I placed my phone to
No!
my ear again.
Okay, now I don't
tried
believe
to
this
yell out to her.
bullshit no more.
Don't go in your room. But the fear held my tongue
The
with a
fear.
tight grip.
The fear was too much.
Babe, don't. I whimpered. What did
Babe,
you say, babe?
stop,
Sorry, I'm
don't.
unlocking my door.
They'll
I
kill
couldn't hear
you. Don't do it. Oh my
I sit in
god.
horror as the
Ah.
creature that took the form of my girlfriend sheds this bone-chilling, menacing grin
Alright, where's the shotgun?
and turns its head to one side. I hear her open the door. Both calls end abruptly.
What? Next video of today's episode is called Scary Field Trip Horror Stories. Let's get it.
Back in high school, I took a mysteries and mythology type class, or something like that. I don't remember the name
I
of the
feel bad for that
class.
frog in there.
It
He looks sad as
basically just
hell.
had to do with real life mysteries and creepy shit. I was into that kind of stuff. I was taking the class with a good friend, who I'll call Ben for this story.
Okay.
The teacher of the class took us on a field trip to a nearby abandoned village with an unknown past. The village was built in the early 1900s, but seems as though it had been quickly abandoned shortly after it was built. The bus ride there was about 20 minutes. All of us were glued to the bus windows as we pulled up some sketchy-looking, decrepit road cutting through dense forest. The road eventually led to a clearing. We were there. We stepped out onto the road, which had grass growing through the cracks. The grass surrounding was almost knee-high. Then there were the buildings. The tall, archaic brick buildings with the boarded-up windows all gave off such chilling vibes. The teacher lined all 20 of us up, counted heads, and then began leading the way. The point of this little field trip was to use the so-called skills we learned in class to see if we could put anything together about why the village may have been abandoned so long ago.
Oh, that's actually
Some
pretty
of the buildings
cool.
had holes in the walls to serve as entryways.
I would love to go on a field trip like
There were
that.
even holes in the ground next to some of the buildings, seemingly dug to get into the basements of some of the buildings, which seemed creepy. There was one building though. It stood taller than any of the others. It just intrigued me the most. While the teacher was leading the group towards the village church, Ben and I decided to sneak off on our own to look for anything interesting.
Okay, I see you, bad boys.
When we walked off in the direction of the tallest building, we saw a hole in the ground. It was dug by the back door of the building, which had been sealed off. In the hole was a ladder which led down to the concrete floor below. We both looked at each other and knew we had to do it.
They looked at each other and were like,
Ben
cool.
climbed down first, then me.
Creepy shit.
Luckily, this was just around the time Apple started putting flashlights on their phones, so we had a source of light. It was creepy down there.
There is nothing.
There were a couple of beer
I
bottles,
believe it.
one graffiti tag on the wall, and dusty wooden planks everywhere. There was a wooden stairway which led up to complete darkness, since all windows and doors had been sealed shut from above. We had already gone as far as to enter the building, so we figured we'd go up the stairs too. I went first, and with each step, the creakiness of the 100-year-old wood made me feel as if I was going to fall through each and every step. Ben followed suit. This floor of the building was very tight. It seemed like there were many openings going off into different, smaller rooms. It was so dark in there, you would never even guess it was daytime. Ben and I were honestly starting to get creeped out in there, and agreed to go back outside. But just then, there was a noise in one of the tiny rooms. Like a big rock hitting the concrete floor.
I'm sorry. Ooh.
A normal instinct would be to run, but Ben and I froze, locked eyes for a moment, then both tiptoed over to the opening of the room.
Why?
We shined the lights into the room and ran.
What?
We ran back down the stairs and then up the rusty ladder back outside.
What was it?
We caught up to the
Don't
group
do that
out
to
of
me!
breath. We didn't say anything
fuck?
to avoid getting in trouble. One of our classmates asked us what was wrong. We told him we snuck into one of the buildings, and in one of the rooms, when we shined the light into it, we saw 3 guys standing maybe 10 feet away from the doorway, facing Ben and I in a weird formation,
What?
as if they were waiting for us.
Oh.
As we continued following the group, we paid extra attention to the tall building we entered from the distance. And before leaving, we saw a person's face at one of the higher level windows that had not been boarded up. We never told the teacher in fear of getting in trouble. We didn't know what to think. Were those just homeless people living in there? Were
Maybe.
they gang members in hiding?
Most likely they were homeless
Ben freaks
people.
me out with his theory.
And then you just
He
thought
says
they were waiting for you.
ghosts of the people
They're
who
like,
once
damn,
lived
turn
in
off
the
that light, I'm
town.
trying to sleep.
Still, The way the three guys were just hauntingly standing there so calmly, staring at us the moment we peeked our heads through that doorway. I still can't get that image out of my head. I may go back to that village one day, just to prove Ben's idea wrong.
You ain't going back there. You a little bitch. What are you doing? See, look. They got a light on, they got a fire, they're just making a meal, you know, they're doing their thing. Stop bothering them. So the last video I chose for today's episode is called True Airport Horror Story. Let's go.
It was the spring of 2017. I was flying out to Chicago for a job interview. It was around 11 p.m. and I was sitting in my gate at the San Francisco International Airport. A storm was raging outside. Rain pouring down the windows as everyone was bundled up on the seats and keeping to themselves. I was just scanning the rows of people in seats sleeping, on laptops or phones, and wearing earbuds before I noticed this one guy. He was
Of
sitting
course
in
you're
the
gonna notice
farthest
this
corner
guy.
of the gate
I
by
noticed
corridor,
that guy.
with no one else sitting around him.
I feel like I am
He was
that
not
guy.
on his phone or wearing headphones.
The hell am
like
I doing in
everyone
this
else.
story?
He has this huge, crooked grin plastered on his face, and he's staring directly at me. He looked pretty average in terms of looks and what he was wearing.
Damn, we're like
But
judging
that
his looks
grin
now?
was so
I mean, he's
creepy,
okay, 7
it
out
was
of 10.
beginning to
Could
make
have
me
nicer
shit
teeth.
bricks. Naturally, I turned away and pretended I hadn't seen him. But the fact that he was staring at me made me continuously turn to eye him back without realizing. Eventually, they called our gate and I boarded the plane. I took my seat in the business class right by the window.
Don't
and
tell me
went
this
on
guy's
my
gonna
phone,
sit next to her.
checking Instagram and texting friends. I did not see the creepy man boarding. An hour later, we were up in the sky. Sometime through the flight, I got up to use the bathroom, and as I was finishing up in there, someone knocked on the door. I called out, "Occupied," but the person continued knocking repeatedly and aggressively.
Okay, I'm gonna pause the video real quick. I don't think I would be scared on an actual airplane. One, because whoever it is, they can't escape because we're literally up in the air. And two, there's a lot of people on that plane. So if that person tried to do something to me, I could just be like, help!
As I was washing my hands, I ignored it, hoping it would go away, but it didn't. So I opened the door to make some ballsy remark, but froze when I saw who was in front of me. It was that guy from the airport, still with that creepy grin plastered on his face.
Homina.
Quickly, I pushed past him and walked to my seat, not glancing behind me. The rest of my flight went normal except for the fact that I couldn't get him off my mind. As soon as we landed in
Hey,
Chicago,
buckle up, 'cause here we
I
go.
was the first to get my suitcase down from the overhead luggage, and the first off of that airplane. I called an
This
Uber
guy, man.
as I walked to the airport parking lot. It was 12 p.m. in Chicago. The Uber came and I drove to my hotel. And as I checked into my room, I realized something horrible.
What?
My wallet was missing.
Ooh.
I don't know where
That's
I could
actually
have
my
left
worst
it.
fear, too.
So I called the airport and asked them to search the plane.
'Cause a wallet's so
They did
valuable, it has so
and
much
got
information.
Back to me a few hours later saying they found nothing. I drove back to the airport and spent the whole rest of the day searching and turning up nothing. My only theories were I had somehow left it at San Francisco or it had been stolen. I was able to recover and spent 3 more days walletless in Chicago. But you know what? Here's the scary part. When I got back to San Francisco and drove to my house, I discovered something disturbing. My door was unlocked,
Oh.
and my entire house was trashed. Everything had been broken, and anything worth a slight amount of value had been taken. I checked my security footage and was able to identify the
Oh
intruder
my
as the grinning
goodness.
man from the airport who, sure enough,
Why was
had
he
my
smiling
wallet
directly at the
and
thing? He's like,
therefore my
ha
keys.
ha, time to rob you,
I
bitch.
called the police, who found his fingerprints all over my house. The only scary thing was that the prints did not match anyone on record.
It was him the whole time? Bro, get out of here with that. He's like, yeah, let me check who it was. Oh, it's an error. We can't find him. Fuck out of here, dude. All right, guys, but that's going to do it for this episode of Watching Scary Animations with you guys. If you want this series to continue, make sure you guys give this video one big fat like. And tell a friend today that Jay from the Kubz Scouts is that dude.